Maintainers, they're the heart and soul of any open source project. Absolutely essential to make sure the project runs smoothly or even runs at all. Maintainers will guide and lead the open source project. They may do all the code reviews, reviewing pull requests and other contributions, triage, handle security fixes, as well as community management and moderation. The community can get involved in this also, and this is the best way to become a maintainer in the future and such an amazing way to learn fast and grow your network. Studies show that the vast majority of maintainers are performing their role on a voluntary basis and not for money. For example, because they want to make an impact, learn new skills and technologies, or just be more creative on top of their full-time jobs. Let's be clear, being a maintainer requires so much more than coding. Other tasks can include writing documentation, making sure that the project guidelines and rules are followed by the contributors, encouraging others to come up with solutions to the challenges that the project will face, whilst mentoring and helping them along the way. Knowing when to say no if a contribution is not aligned with the goal of the project, as well as learning from the community. Maintainers don't have all the answers. A maintainer has to wear many hats and needs to have many skills, plus must be continually learning all the time because they've got to learn how to improve their technical skills as well as their communication and collaboration skills. In this video, I want to talk to you about my journey in choosing maintainers, what I look for in maintainers, and how the role of maintainers is evolving in my open source projects. Picture this, you've started an open source project, and at the beginning, you can deal with all the issues and pull requests that come in from the community because there aren't that many. But when your project gains traction and increases in popularity, all of a sudden you find that all you're doing is dealing with notifications and you're starting to feel kind of overwhelmed and buried, and you definitely don't want to burn out. Enter maintainers. I invited contributors and EddieHub community members to become maintainers on the open source project, as I felt they could really help me deal with the issues and pull requests coming in. They have been active and consistent members of EddieHub, and I was confident they understood the community and what the project was about. But appointing maintainers is not just about getting help for dealing with notifications. It can be a lonely place if you're working on an open source project on your own, regardless of how many contributions you get. I cannot tell you how great it is and how much I've learned from the maintainers on the EddieHub projects. Not only have they helped me when I get stuck, but they've also developed new concepts and continued to introduce amazing ideas and make further improvements and iterate on the current improvements we've made with more improvements. It's fair to say at the beginning I choose my maintainers in a relaxed way. But whilst there is no problem with choosing your maintainers from the community members you know best and let this relationship evolve organically, it's important for the project owner to think about what they should be communicating to the maintainers. That is why we have recently introduced a proper procedure in our link-free project, designed to make maintainers aware of what to expect, but also as a resource for the community members who would like to be maintainers one day. Here are my tips for creating good communication and certainty with your maintainers. Number 1, publish the criteria for becoming a maintainer. For example, with link-free maintainers, they need to be a member of EddieHub, have a full link-free profile, and have consistent track record of helping community members on Discord, reviewing and improving pull requests, creating issues which add value to the project, adding value by the form of PRs for new features and fixing bugs. Number 2, expectations. When inviting someone to be a maintainer, make sure they know what the role consists of, but also if you have an idea of the time commitment involved, tell them ahead of time. Let the person make the decision to whether that suits their schedule right now. A good way to do this is to include in your documentation what you expect from your maintainers, as well as give them helpful examples. You should not expect someone to say yes to the maintainer role if they do not know what to expect from the role. But this goes to prospective maintainers too. If you are asked to take on this role, ask questions. Number 3, review. You know what it's like. A project takes off, you get busy with it, you have several maintainers. The next thing you realize that perhaps there are some maintainers who have been active for some time. Of course, you cannot expect daily contributions from your maintainers and support. This still remains largely a voluntary role, and it's super important to be respectful of people's time and other life and work commitments. That said, lately, becoming a maintainer on a project has become a bit of a status symbol that people want to put on their GitHub profile. A bit like when people chase the green squares but don't actually add value. They just kind of, move characters around. In my opinion, that is not something you want to support. This will not help move the project forward, but also it is unfair to other maintainers and also the rest of the community. So we have introduced that we will review how a maintainer is doing. Is the maintainer consistent? Are they able to support new contributors? Also make suggestions to move the project along. This brings me to my next point, renewing maintainers. I recently heard that often maintainers do not want to offend project owners and ask to be retired from their role. I really do not want that. I want to keep things transparent and open. So we have publicly set out that if our maintainers no longer wish to have the role, they just need to let us know. This goes both ways. If a maintainer has not been active for a long period of time, then we need to ask them to stop being a maintainer and make way for others in the community. I think the important thing here is there's always ongoing communication. So if a maintainer leaves, now for whatever reason, they can always come back in the future. Number 5, recognition. The reality is the costs incurred by most open source projects, like hosting and domains, are funded from the project owner, out of their own pocket. They rely on the generosity of GitHub sponsors. I have videos on this already, but for a quick example here, I spend about $500 per month on hosting EddieHub projects, and also $300 per month for another service we use to host my free course and send out monthly newsletters. So that's like $800 per month on running an open source community. As a result, it makes it difficult to provide financial compensation to maintainers, even though they clearly deserve it. It is up to the project owner to come up with ways in which they can reward their maintainers. In the Linkfree project, some of these rewards include a LinkedIn and Linkfree recommendation from me, participation in a monthly maintainers lottery where a randomly selected maintainer can choose a reward, for example, a 30-minute one-to-one with me or a social shout-out on Twitter or LinkedIn. I want to finish this video by giving a massive shout-out to the EddieHub maintainers, especially Linkfree, as it has the most notifications and it will definitely keep the inbox notifications busy. We would not be where we are with this project without your help and support, so thank you so much.